In this video, we are going to be going over BatchDriven and BatchLeads and kind of the main differences and maybe which product will be best for you. And then stay tuned because at the end, Landry is going to give some amazing advice on how to be incredibly successful with not only BatchDriven, but with driving for dollars. Welcome to BatchTV. My name is Michelle, and today we have a very special guest, the beautiful Landry, and she is the BatchDriven Expert. All right, so Landry, tell me what makes you the BatchDriven Expert?
Well, I would say I've been with Batch for just under 2 years at this point, with BatchDriven the whole entire time throughout, the support, talking with people on Facebook, breaking down the app, teaching people how to use it, and then just overall, talking with people about their businesses too and how it can best suit them too when using BatchDriven. Mm-hmm. So kind of just getting creative with it, figuring out how every tiny little detail works for everybody.
I love it. I love it. And BatchDriven is one of our newer products, I would say. It's been around for how long now?
About 2 years.
About 2 years.
Or less, yeah.
2 years. And so we just get a ton of questions about what the differences are between BatchLeads, BatchDriven. There are a few similarities, but it definitely appeals to different types of users and different types of real estate investors. So we're just going to really dive deep into this. Let's start off with the similarities. So what would you say is very similar between BatchLeads and BatchDriven before we kind of dive into the differences?
I feel like in terms of, data, we have the same data in terms of when you are pulling a list, same skip tracing data. Obviously, at the end of the day, everybody has the same goal and what they're trying to accomplish. But it really kind of just starts to differentiate on what you're doing with your business and kind of the goals that you have in the long run.
So just to reiterate that, if you're using any of the Batch products, when it comes to the data side of things, we aggregate data from the same sources. So you don't have to worry about your skip trace results being different, the property information being different, things like that. But the apps themselves are all a little different. So we're going to go ahead and dive into that next. All right, so Landry, I know BatchDriven, you've got texting in there. You have direct mail as well. Mm-hmm. You can pull lists.
Yes.
You've got driving for dollars, though, which is one of the main differences.
Right.
But could you go into a little bit more detail on just how those aspects are completely different in BatchDriven versus BatchLeads?
Absolutely. So I find that when somebody is really focused on pulling a list and things like square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, things like that are really important to somebody pulling a list. That's where you're going to be able to kind of lean towards BatchLeads, I feel like, in that way. BatchDriven is going to be more like, hey, I'm looking for a quick list of pre-foreclosure properties and I want to go check them out by driving for dollars today kind of deal. Also with our texting with BatchDriven, it's going to be more like, hey, I went and gathered this 100 properties from driving for dollars. I'm going to send out that campaign. And I mean, what is kind of like the texting like with BatchLeads in comparison to that, would you say?
Yeah, so BatchLeads is definitely more bulk texting. So you can shoot out 1,000 text messages with just the click of a button. I definitely would say it's probably for those people who work a 9-to-5 job and they have a short window to send out text messages. And so you're saying like this is for more smaller scale or like one-offs here and there. Like maybe you drive by a house and you're like, oh, I want to skip trace that house and send them a text right now.
Right.
So
exactly.
It's kind of like right there in the moment, I guess.
Yeah. And so many different ways to go about it. You might go and some people really have like their driving for deals day. Like they spend that Sunday just gathering hundreds of properties as much as they can. And then the rest of the week, they might be doing smaller campaigns to a couple hundred properties throughout the week. But it's not going to be like, hey, I'm texting 1,000 people today, mm-hmm. Things like that. But definitely good for people that are either just brand spanking new, getting started, a really simple app to go out and drive for dollars, skip trace your properties, reach out to them, or if you need boots on the ground, kind of thing if you're expanding.
Definitely. And for people who don't know what driving for dollars is, can you go ahead and just like explain that in a very like broad way?
Absolutely. So driving for dollars or driving for deals, if any of you guys have heard of that and you're just not quite sure what that is, essentially it's driving for potential leads, potential deals in the long run. Finding those off-market properties that aren't going to show up on, all of those lists that you find that everybody's pulling. And that's the value in it. It's just more time consuming. So it really comes down to, I feel like what people are focused on, are they able to spend that time and go out and drive or virtually drive for dollars, which is a great tool too.
Yeah, and it definitely is worth, because you're right, like batch leads, you can pull very niche lists when it comes to property information, like age of owner, how long it's been owned, what's the status of the house, is it off market, is it, how much equity does it have in it? These are all like statistics for that home that's in the database. But driving for dollars really gives you're able to physically see the condition of the house.
Right.
And that's not something that you can pull from batch leads. You can't be like, okay, I want a house with all broken windows and a messed up roof, right?
Right.
Or an overgrown yard. Like, you're not going to be able to pull those sorts of lists in batch leads. And so that's what's so powerful about having boots on the ground and even virtually driving for dollars with BatchDriven.
Doing it on your computer
and getting that Google Street View and seeing those broken windows or seeing the overgrown yards or the cars in the front driveway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
broken down cars,
yeah.
Things covering the property. And it's like, being able to see the date of when Google updated that as well, and being able to kind of, even though maybe it's in a totally different market across the United States, or maybe it's just a little bit of a drive and you don't want to go over there, you can totally go on your computer and see exactly when Google updated that. There's a lot of different things too that you can kind of, I guess, take comfort in when virtually driving, even though you're not physically there, looking at the property information too. So many different things, I feel like, coming down to people's schedules, what's important to them, and really the volume, I feel like, that they're focusing on.
Yeah, definitely. So it is like probably smaller volume, but you're getting that quality lead because you're seeing the distress factors right then and there. So yeah, I feel like that's really such a great value that driving for dollars does bring a lot of investors. But
exactly.
So I want to dive in on what kind of users you see using BatchDriven. I know we've kind of talked about this before, and what's so cool is because you can take it with you anywhere.
Right.
Like, you see totally different walks of life and how they're using it and incorporating it in their business. So I just love to hear, like, what are some of the more creative ways you've seen people use BatchDriven, or, what you see consistently too.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I've talked to so many different people in their real estate journey, brand new, 2 weeks into it. And then other people that I've talked to, since the very beginning of BatchDriven that have been using it consistently, that have been doing real estate for 10 years. So I've talked to people that scooter for dollars and then go door knocking, knock on people's doors to just get right up there face to face with the homeowner. I've heard of people kind of just, talking to kids that are doing Uber Eats or Lyft, and then they'll pay that person that's gathering their leads after they close that contract, a lump sum kind of thing. So people that are just brand new, that are just maybe texting like 50 people throughout the week, dedicating as much time as they can. Maybe they do also have a 9-to-5 and they just have a little bit of time to dedicate. And then others that they maybe hire virtual assistants, or they bring their family members in to start grabbing those properties, and maybe they put it into batch leads to do a lot more mass texting and incorporate it there. So
definitely, I love
lots of different stuff. It's
that's
awesome.
so cool. And and that's what's so great about real estate investing and wholesaling is it looks so different for everybody. And, you can really fit it into your life however you need. And that's what's really special about all of our products that we have is, you're able to pick and choose which product works best for your lifestyle. And I think that's what we really wanted to focus on today, is just kind of explaining how these products work, what the differences are, and, just allowing you to decide which one is going to best fit your lifestyle and your needs for your business. So just to kind of reiterate things, batch leads. So I know batch leads inside and out. We see new users using batch leads. We see very seasoned real estate investors using batch leads. Okay. It's just a preference. Batch leads is all in one. You have your texting, you can pull lists, you can skip trace, you can list stack, you can do direct mail, comping tools, all of that. But it's more on the mass scale. There's just a lot more tools for detail. There's a lot more tools for organization. There's a lot more tools for pulling very niche lists. So it's more of doing things on the bulk side of things, right? Now with BatchDriven
is going to be more, obviously the obvious one, driving for dollars, hence the name. But I feel like whether you are just getting started off or, you've been doing it for years, it kind of comes down to, do you have yourself that time to commit to finding those leads that are, not on all those lists? Do you have other people that you're wanting to bring in to start building your leads, your lead flow, and then maybe putting into batch leads? It kind of just comes down to where your preference is at, what you're doing with it. Like, are you driving for dollars? Are you just focused on pulling lists? How much texting are you doing?
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have a team kind of thing, or are you doing this by yourself?
So BatchDriven's also kind of an all-in-one too, in a way. Like,
Right.
there is texting, there are lists.
There's comps in there too.
There's comping in there too. There's direct mail in there too, right?
Yeah.
But it's just more on a simple level.
I think so. It's kind of just
it's
like
more streamlined.
Yeah, just kind of to the basics.
Yeah.
Like pull lists, go drive for dollars.
And then you drive
send
for
them a
your
text.
niche lists,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, basically.
Yeah.
And you can also, like you said, scale your business and build boots on the ground teams and watch their driving routes and everything.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So people can also track where they're going to, not just, adding them on the app or the desktop, but if you do have maybe somebody virtual that's overseas or, in a totally different state, you can keep track of exactly where they've been. So these streets aren't, driven over and over again, which is awesome.
Definitely. So in conclusion, there is absolutely no right or wrong answer here. You can't go wrong with either app. They're both incredible, but you just need to ask yourself what's going to be best for you. Are you working more of a 9-to-5 job and only have like a limited amount of time where you need to work in bulk and kind of get things done in a quick manner? Do you love driving for dollars, or do you totally dislike driving for dollars? You've done it, you're over it. Maybe you want to start virtually driving for dollars, or maybe you just don't want that feature at all. That's really going to help you decide which product's going to be best for you, whether that's going to be batch leads or batch driven. All right, so before we let Landry go, we are just going to ask her one last question that I know everybody's dying to know. But Landry, what's your best advice or kind of the secret sauce for driving for dollars, whether that's virtually or boots on the ground, actually driving neighborhoods? Like, what is it that people should be looking for? What's landing people deals when they're looking for homes?
Right. Great question. I mean, honestly, when you are out there driving for deals, looking for those distress indicators, deferred maintenance. Let's say you're driving for deals physically, you're out there, you're right in front of the properties. You're looking for maybe broken windows, maybe weeds growing in the gutter, maybe boarded up windows or even boarded up doors I've seen as well. Maybe when you're virtually driving, you're looking in satellite view first to kind of know where you're going to be driving eventually, looking at backyards. Sometimes the front of a property looks all right, and then in the backyard maybe there's a deeper situation going on there, broken down cars, kind of looking for, again, that deferred maintenance. They could be in a lot of distress, that homeowner. So just I feel like looking for those prior, whether you are going to be doing that virtual, and then kind of just knowing where you're going to be driving. Don't go into a super nice neighborhood. Probably going to have a hard time there. You got to go somewhere it's a little bit more run down. So definitely big tip there.
And would you say you find similar properties around properties like that? Like, yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And sometimes you can go into a neighborhood and see that there's being work done there. and then be
so
able
it's
to
being flipped.
find, exactly, and kind of see that there's renovations going on in that neighborhood. That might be a good place to kind of be going as well.
Awesome. And then I'm just going to piggyback off of this, but once you find a property like that, like what are the next steps that you see people taking? Like, are they literally going and door knocking? Are they leaving a note? Are they skip
Great
tracing
question.
and calling them right on the spot?
I love that. Yeah, that's a great question too, because from the the investors that I've spoke with, they will try multiple different strategies, which also ties into another tip about just being consistent too, is maybe you gather your driving for deals list, you skip trace them, maybe you start with sending out text messages. Maybe you're not able to reach everybody, so you go into cold calling. Maybe after that, you go and knock on their doors or send them a postcard. There's so many different ways. It doesn't have to just end with one, strategy in marketing. If you don't reach them through texting, there's always another way, so on and so forth. So many different ways to just keep going with it. Try that next thing and really get in contact with the homeowner.
Which is great. And you can do that all from BatchDriven.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right, so thank you so much for joining us today on this episode on BatchTV. If you want to try either of these products, we do offer free trials, okay? 7-day free trials, and you can try BatchLeads, you can try BatchDriven. We'll put those links below, and if you want to see any more tips and tricks for real estate investing and wholesaling, please make sure to hit that like, subscribe, and turn on the notifications.